everybody, John Phillip. How's it going? So last week I did my list of the top 10 most overrated movies of all time. So this week I think I could do some of my list of some of the top 10 films that are actually my favorites. Like, these are popular films and films that I don't think are overrated and I truly believe are some of the best films of all time. I was gonna do underrated, but couldn't think of a lot. So without further ado, let's get started with the top 10 greatest movies of all time. Number 10, Singing in the Rain. So this movie is probably the best musical I've ever seen. What I like most about it is its portrayal of film when it was transitioning from silent to sound. Many of the things you see the characters do, it happened in real life. Many people did have a hard time, adjusting to this new format. Lena Malmott's like kind of annoying voice like this. Like, there are many people whose careers are ruined because their voice just doesn't sound that pleasant. And well, back then, hey, it didn't matter because no one could hear what the hell you were saying. So say whatever the hell you want. Well, speak in whatever voice. All you have to do is not speak in public. No one will hear you. They think you'll have the voice of an angel. But now she has this very nasal voice, and many people's careers were ruined because of that, because of their line delivery and how they speak. The transition from film to from the transition to music films. Many films after the silent era became musicals. In fact, for a while, the music genre was the most popular genre in film for a while, around the late 20s, early 30s. And they do this in a kind of funny way. They don't do this in an entire serious way, because this could be very serious, and they could have done this like they did with Sunset Boulevard, but no, they do it in a very cheeky and funny way, but not in a way that it feels insulting to the history. Because there can be something where it takes a historical event, and it does it in this very cheeky, goofy little light, and sometimes, it can be a little too funny, where it's this was a serious moment, you shouldn't do this. And yeah, this was a serious moment, and they do portray it like that, but they are also able to do it really well, and it's funny, but it's not insulting that way, because that's how it was. All the characters are funny, the acting is good, the jokes come in just fast and quick like that, nothing else. And I really like how they're able to portray this, people's views in the film. Even at the time, nobody thought this was gonna work, and you laugh, and you don't get context, and it just seems like a funny, pleasant movie. But when you do get context, it's more of a kind of funny, lighthearted version of a big, serious moment in film history. And I think that doing that without making it seem insulting is absolutely brilliant. Also, these guys are excellent dancers. I've never seen anyone do those kind of moves. I don't think anyone could dance like Gene Kelly. And the songs, they didn't write them, but still, the singing's pretty good. And most of these songs were in some of the first musicals, which came, as sound films started to get in. I think that was intentional, kind of make it feel more like the era of the time. And in fact, there's only one song written for a film, which is Make 'Em Laugh, which is kind of a rip-off of another Gene Kelly song. But still, it's an excellent movie, and it's funny, it's entertaining, and it's able to kind of disguise these serious moments that it's based on with these fun little jokes and characters and their movements. Number 9, The Godfather Part 2. It's very surprising how good this film is, because the first film is excellent. The Godfather, that's an excellent movie, and you make a sequel to a movie as excellent as The Godfather, and you expect it to fail. That's what happens often when you make good sequels to such successful movies. They're either known for being absolutely horrible, like the Star Wars prequels, or you just forget about them, like the Chinatown sequel. And this one, you don't forget about it. And it is truly an amazing movie. In the first one, by the end, we saw Michael's full descent into kind of this big criminal warlord. And now in this one, we're seeing how it's after that. He's in charge of the family business. He does all these crimes, and we kind of see him destroy his family. And that's just one of the stories. This has two stories. The other story is about Vito's early life before the events of the first film and how he became the leader of this big crime family. And both of them are very good. Robert De Niro is great as a young Vito. I like how we see his family getting killed. And I'm gonna say this, both Vito and Michael are bad. They're in charge of a criminal crime family. These guys commit so many illegal crimes, including murder. But there's a little bit of a difference where you kind of like, in a way, see Vito as the good guy and Michael as the bad guy. And it works well. But at the same time, even though you do see Vito as a good guy, they are also able to point out that what he is doing is bad. Because Vito, he was a young boy, his family was killed, all of a sudden he comes to this place, and this horrible wannabe mobsters controlling the place. They're awful people. He kills that mobster so that everybody in the city can kind of, be safe, and get this, so that Michael can be safe. I mean, the birth of his son, Michael, is what prompted him, so that his entire family could be safe. And then he kills the other guy who killed his family when he was a kid. And then we see Michael, and everyone he kills is not to protect anybody. It's just somebody upsets him a little bit, and that equals murder. I just remember there's one scene where Tom's talking to him, and he says, do you have to kill everyone in the world? Like, he says, you won. Do you have to kill everybody? And Michael says, no, just my enemies. And that shows his character a lot. He doesn't want to win. He doesn't want to have control of people. He just wants to get rid of anyone he hates. He has the control. He won. He is in charge of everybody. People fear him, and that's not enough for him. And even at the end, it's so shocking when he orders the death on his own brother, and he just watches without any sudden remorse. And it's brilliant. And again, going back to Vito killing the other guy, it's kind of implied after he killed him that he did it to protect his family. But that action destroys his family because it puts Michael down this path of destruction, and which he eventually uses to either kind of destroy his relationship with his brother, his wife, his kids, his sister, and kill his brother. All of that works very well. I even like the ending scene where you see the flashback to how Michael was before the events of this movie to how he is now. Everything about this film is really good. I mean,
Number 8, On the Waterfront.
Marlon Brando, he is a genius actor. It's totally understandable why everybody loved him in the 50s and even the 70s. He's able to be very good. But this is not only just him, it's also everyone else, all the other actors, all of the direction, the producing is amazing. And one of the things that works well is that everybody acts like a real person. Everybody acts like people around them, how people actually act in this kind of situation. Every single scene feels real. The reactions feel real. And I like always seeing these people battle with their conscience, like his character Terry accidentally sets up the death for this man, and then he falls in love with the man's sister, who is not just a bland love interest. He actually has a personality. He wants to find justice for the man that killed her brother, and everybody knows who did it. It's Johnny Friendly, especially Terry, as he, again, it accidentally set that up. But because everybody's too afraid of him, they do nothing about it, and we see everybody slowly build up the will to actually fight against the men that mistreat them and not let them get away with this stuff. Terry just stands up, actually goes on, tells everybody what he does, speaks again to the Supreme Court, despite the fact that he knows the risks that can go in. He knows that they might kill him if he does. He still does it, and we see all these people, like we see the people who are nervous, they slowly build up. I like that scene where the priest gives that speech of how if we stay silent, we're still doing something bad. We have a part to do with this if we don't say a single word about this. If we do nothing about this, we are just as guilty as they are. That's kind of the speech, and it is such a great speech. It definitely shows that if you know about it, you gotta stand up. You gotta stand up for your rights. And I even love that scene where Terry's with his brother Charlie, and he points the gun at him. Marlon Brando actually once went to director Elia Kazan. He said, how am I gonna do this? I mean, he's my own brother. How was I supposed to believe he points a gun at me? And Elia Kazan told him to act the disbelief. And it works so well. I mean, just the shock of your own brother pointing a gun at you, and then he just puts it down. It's like, Charlie. I don't understand. Also, Leonard Bernstein, he does the soundtrack for this. This is not a musical, and Leonard Bernstein does the soundtrack, because everything he's done was a musical, but this is the only non-musical film he's done the soundtrack for. And it's very good. I mean, compared to some of the other films he's done, it's not that great, but still, it's very good, even if it's not like some big musical number or anything like that. But I'm guessing iconic actors, I definitely understand why Marlon Brando was popular at the time. I actually think this is better other than some of his other films from the 50s, like Streetcar Named Desire, which I think some people might consider the best early Marlon Brando movie, from the 1950s. I don't agree. I think this one does well. This one is perfect from beginning to end. They introduce the conflict straight as it starts. We see all these characters dealing with it. At the end, all of the characters are able to make the right decision and stand up to the people who've been mistreating them.
Number 7, The Graduate.
When I got this film out from the library and chose to watch it, I did not expect myself to like it. I watched it for 2 reasons. It's a classic, and I love classic movies, and B, Simon Garfunkel did the soundtrack, and they have written some of the most poetic and emotional songs I've heard, so I thought, I can give it a shot, but I did not expect myself to like it that much. I expected it to just be some old sex comedy, which I'm not really into those kind of stuff, mainly because of what most of them show. Yeah, I try to avoid most of them, but I was kind of shocked how much I liked this one, because it's not just, 20-year-old man starts sleeping with old woman. It's more of a kind of psychological tale, because we see this man who just graduated from college, and now he's kind of just stuck. He doesn't know what he wants to do, and all of a sudden, his old friend Mrs. Robinson, his parents' friend Mrs. Robinson, who's like 40 years old, starts manipulating him, gets him to despair. And I like how it's used. A, we don't see what they're doing, yes, but B, she's very manipulative. When she comes into she kind of just asks for a few favors, like she has him drive her home, and he starts opening up, and then he actually catches on to that, and when he admits it, she denies it, she laughs and stuff, makes him worried, before revealing that that's actually the truth. And each time he tries to get out, she's able to manipulate him, whether making it seem whether pretending that she feels bad, or just being like, are you nervous about something like this? And she's using him, and it's obvious that he's aware of that. But because he's at this point where he doesn't know what he wants, he doesn't know what he wants to do at this time, so he does it anyways, and then he falls in love with daughter Elaine, which awkward. And the best scene is the ending, and yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody has talked about the ending. We all know whatever the hell is gonna happen there. They get in the bus, and then they start laughing, you're getting ready to get married, and then we see looks of nervousness. But I'm still talking about it because done well. Throughout this entire time, they think they're in love with each other, despite the fact they only know each other for a day. And then, just as it's the last minute, just as they get in the bus, they all of a sudden realize this, and they pretty much did exactly what Ms. Robinson did. Just go on, rush into things too quickly, and then it screwed up. All of that works very well. And also, Simon Garfunkel, because of their constant touring, they never really had time to write so many new stuff. There's only one song written for a movie, Mrs. Robinson, which is one of their best songs. But they use their other songs like Sound of Silence and Scarborough Fair, and most of the time when they put a already released song in a movie, it's kind of just so people can go up and be like, hey, I know this song, but this one gets the emotion. Sound of Silence comes 3 times, and that is a kind of song about the isolation and around us, and how it kind of grows the less we communicate with each other. And we get that a lot because Benjamin is isolating himself the more he does this, and more delusioning himself. He's isolated at the very beginning, and the further he gets into his affair, and in the business of this family, the isolation just goes deeper. It works very well, seeing him unaware of what he does, and eventually just making things not only worse for himself, but for the people around him. It is a great movie.
Number 6, Psycho.
Alfred Hitchcock has done a lot of classic horror and thriller movies, and I think this is his best for a few reasons. The character of Norman Bates is a great villain, and the twist is very good, because when he starts off, he seems he's very nice, but he obviously seems troubled, obviously kind of like verbally abused by his mother, and we see him kind of talking to Marion Crane, opening up about his problems, and we kind of see that there's something wrong with him. And then at the end, we get the twist that he was the killer all along. He killed his mother like a few years ago when she was dating someone else. But then he felt so guilty about that he dug up her corpse, put her clothes on, he dressed up as her, and even that final shot with that smile sends chills. And what makes this movie work very well is that, because I know what was gonna happen here, because the twist is so popular. This movie is so famous. All these scenes, it has such famous twists and such iconic scenes that everybody's talking about it. We already know. Like, I already knew about the shower scene. The scene where Marion is stabbed in the shower, I saw that coming because everybody's always referencing it and parodying it. But I still was scared when it happened. Still, like, when she comes up. And that's how it works. Even though this film becomes so popular that we know every twist in the movie, we're still shocked. We're still scared when it happens. I'm still terrified when I see Marion stabbed to death, despite the fact that I knew it was gonna happen. I'm still terrified when I see the reveal of Norman Bates' mother's body, and that final twist. And I like how for the first 45 minutes, Marion was the main character, which is kind of why, again, we already know about the shower scene, but if that scene was so iconic, I think it would be a little more shocking, because for the first 45 minutes, they don't want to concentrate on her, and all of a sudden she's dead. And then we see this whole investigation up to it, and then Norman comes in. Each time, he just kind of seems like the kind of, he seems like the victim of some verbal abuse, but he's really the one doing it. He's obviously like insane. He has mental issues. Again, he's psycho. He goes around and he spends his entire and then the final scene in jail where he hears his mother's voice. It works very well. The twist, how it's explained to this guy, and we see Marion's sister and her boyfriend Sam Loomis trying to find her, and them and slowly finding out what happened, where she is and why, and like we find out Norman's just not the one covering his tracks. I still remember that scene where he sees the corpse and then him dressed as his mother comes with a knife in the hand. It's like, oh, it's so shocking, and you just don't know what's happening, and then they get the full explanation in jail. It is definitely the best horror movie I've ever seen. It's Alfred Hitchcock's best work. He's created a lot of good movies like Rear Window, but like, just I don't think even for him, this is very good.
Number 5, Lawrence of Arabia.
So this film was pretty much a biographical film about soldier, T.E. Lawrence, involvement in the Arab Revolt, and it works well. It stays very faithful to his characters. I know people complain about some historical accuracy, but historians have actually cited this as a very accurate movie. I don't know what the other people are thinking. And I think it shows a great tale, because Lawrence starts off as this very optimistic, fun little guy that gets involved in it. And then as he goes by, he becomes kind of a narcissist, expects people to see him as God, and he becomes the guy wanting revenge. And then all that optimism and everything is crushed. He ruined everything. All of his efforts would just go down and are straight up destroyed. It works well. he has some brilliant character development the entire way through, and also some of these shots are amazing. The landscapes of the desert, like they do some very good cinematography. David Lean is an excellent director. I do not suggest watching this on a streaming site. Either, well, find an AFI theater, watch it there, or watch it on a DVD player, because no one should watch this on their phone or anything like that, because it is a truly brilliant movie. I like the introduction of Sheriff Ali. You know, we see a camel riding, we see someone riding in, and we see Lawrence and the other guy, you know, they're looking in and they don't really know what's coming, and they realize who he is and shot, and he's from a different tribe than the other guy, and he killed him for Trinket as well. It shows very well the conflict between the two tribes that Lawrence is trying to end. And he is a smart, manipulative individual, but that also causes his downfall. It also causes everything to go wrong for him, for him to kind of go overboard, to become a little bit of a narcissist, to want revenge, ends up putting everything down. And Alec Guinness is very good as Prince Faisal. I remember first seeing he sees Ali, he refers to the Arab as a foolish people, I think, a little people, silly people, greedy, barbarous, and cruel. And then he's talking to Prince Ali, and he kind of uses that against him, what he said, kind of showing that he's aware that Lawrence, of how Lawrence sees them, and is using that. And I also like people's views of the British government's views. Like, everybody's kind of think he's weird for helping them. I even remember that scene where he's traveling with one of the kids that would want to become his servant. Everybody's calling him like slurs and all that stuff, and then he sarcastically uses those against him, and he shows how smart he is, like taking Aqaba without any orders, something no one expected from him. He starts off just this amateur guy. They just send him off because they need someone. They don't expect him to do anything. And then he successfully leads all of the Arab revolt there. But then he also caused a bloodbath. I remember just at the end where one of the people he hires as bodyguards, who are sold to him, I think, no, he pays them, but yeah, they just go on saying no prisoners and fire us. And he takes that as a sign for war, and he gets all in the fight, and all of a sudden, many of these people are dead. They all shot each other over something he caused. And that causes big guilt for him, because the reason he got into this was to stop the conflict, but he just caused the entire bloodbath and made it worse. And then, at the end, everything fails. All that stuff of peace between the Arab people to no longer going against the British, it's completely gone. And all the work he does is for nothing. Nothing. I even like how at the end because at the beginning we see him die in a motorcycle accident, and at the end he sees a man riding a motorcycle, kind of like foreshadowing his eventual death. I've actually done a lot of research on this guy, and I do like of how there are some points that work very well. I'm not saying everything's accurate, like there's no Sheriff Ali, but even his life, there are just early points of his life where they never show him in a movie, but they kind of imply that, they kind of talk about it, he was born out of wedlock, father went on with the housemaid, and then there's this scene where he's talking with Ali about his family life, and then he kind of just mentions that his father doesn't marry his mother, and then Ali stops, and we kind of see Lawrence is obviously upset because, this was at a time where everybody had to be married, all that stuff, people's views, and we see Lawrence's guilt of the fact that his family probably wasn't stable because, he wasn't even planned to begin with. It's an emotional, stunning, and stunning movie. In fact, this film's 3.5 hours, and the first time I watched it, I didn't stop it once. That's how amazing this movie is.
Number 4, Gone with the Wind.
Okay, I will start by acknowledging this film does have some problematic elements, especially with its portrayal of slavery, but that said, it's still a great movie. It's one of the first films that actually have a very big and serious portrayal of the horrors of war, which is very big. It takes place during the Civil War and the Reconstruction era, and we kind of follow Scarlett O'Hara era, who who is part of this plantation called Terra, and we kind of see her grow, because at first she's just a simple woman. She doesn't want to deal with trouble, she just wants to get what she wants and then move on. But as she goes on, she kind of becomes more spoiled. She's still very spoiled as the film goes on, but she's also a lot more responsible, and she's able to take care of herself, unlike other people. She is able to actually take care and provide for her family and the plantation and her friends. And we see Rhett Butler, and he's this charming guy that's in love with Scarlett. He wants to get together with her, and he also has character development. At first, he just starts as this very charismatic man, but after they get married, like, she still doesn't love him. She's constantly mistreating him, and we kind of see him get tired of that, to eventually leaving her and, well, saying the iconic line, "Frankly, my dear, I just don't give a damn." Great line. And it's also one of the few situations where a love triangle works. Most of the time, it's just, oh, guy likes me, oh, guy likes me, I don't know what to choose, and we kind of know who she's going to choose. But this entire time, it's kind of like she's in love with Ashley, Rhett's in love with her. And then at the very end, she kind of finds out that she's in love with Rhett. But it's already too late. It's not like she finds out you're in love with so many kids. Like, she finds out that she's in love with Rhett, but by that point, Rhett's tired of being mistreated. He's tired of this woman that he deeply cares about mistreating him just for some other guy who is married to his cousin. Not a point of film I like, but still, he's married to another person. Again, this film problematic. And he kind of like he gets tired and leaves. Like, she's like, just as she starts to realize that he really cares for him, he's done. He's done dealing with her. He is done dealing with her constant mistreatment. He is now going back. He's not going to deal with with all of this thing that is obviously very hard for him. It works well, and this is not like Lawrence of Arabia. This is very long, and it worked. And I think, like Lawrence of Arabia, this is long, and it's a historical epic. This takes place during the Civil War, and again, its portrayal of slavery is not so good. It's more of a glorification of the Confederacy, you see. But if you put that aside, it still works very well. Well, yeah, they ignored the entire reason this started to begin with, but it's epic. We see all the troubles everybody has to go through at the time. All these people fighting, seeing these people just terrified of their lives. I remember there was a scene where everybody's just getting the notes of people who died, and everybody's crying, and we see Scarlett and Melanie so relieved that Ashley is alive. It shows how hard things are for the people, for the families of people who fight in wars. And that's, just people in the army. And the Civil War was a big moment in American history. It ended slavery, and it worked very well. It works well as a romance, but it also works well as drama and an epic. And again, there are some problematic elements, like Ashley marries his cousin, and it's treated as a totally okay thing. It kind of portrays slavery as not something that bad. The slaves seem to like their jobs. The good guys are the Confederates, the bad guys are the Union, the guys trying to end it. But, and yeah, I know, I could definitely understand if somebody says they don't like this movie, but I still find it a great movie, despite its problems, and a must-watch.
Number 3, It's a Wonderful Life.
This film is, well, a wonderful movie. There are many good things I could say about this. Jimmy Stewart's in it. Anything he's in is good, but the character of George Bailey, I really like this character as there are certain things he's always wanted to do in his life, and then he doesn't get the chance to do it, and he's kind of depressed, and doesn't really notice how important he is to others, and how important they are to him. I like how for most of the film he pretty much thinks he's worthless, that he has no reason to live, that if he was gone it'd make no difference, and then he's actually shown what happens, and shown how everyone else's lives would have been so much worse if it wasn't for him. And I think that speaks a lot, because we all affect each other's lives in some way. Everyone, all your friends and family, you have an effect on their life, a positive effect, hopefully. Every single action you do has an effect. And so whatever we do, like whenever we think we're not worth something, we kind of realize that we are, because we don't know how things could have been like for the people we care about if we weren't around. And there are some things you do that are so big that maybe if you weren't around, things would have been horribly different. I also like his vision of America, because I like the film's vision of America, because the film's vision of America is kind of what I think America should be: a place of hope, of freedom, where you can do whatever you want, where there are people just willing to stand up to corruption. Because America, and especially in our modern era, seems very corrupt, especially in the government, and we see this place kind of going against corruption, seeing George stand up against this place, giving all these homes to people, even helping everyone, no matter how rich or poor they are. That's what I want America to be, and that's how the film portrays America. It gives you a sense of hope, and it's what we ourselves should work hard to make America be, and kind of change it from the certain corrupt era it has been for I don't even know how long. It's a great movie. I like seeing his entire life as a little kid, every good thing he does, and he never is really aware of it until he finally gets it shown to himself. So he's even at the end, like, he might go to jail, but he doesn't care, because he has a wonderful wife, children, all these people that care about them. He is so happy, and that thing also helps me a lot. I mean, I just watched that, and I'm and the message of that, of how there are always people that care about you, and you have an impact on their lives just as much as they have an impact on yours. It does give me some hope, because it does help me realize that everybody cares about me, no matter what kind of rough spot I'm going in. There is somebody who does care about me, and that's very comforting thing. It's a great movie from the flashbacks of his life all the way to Clarence. It also is very funny. I like when Clarence comes in and he's talking about all this stuff, like where it comes from, and this cuts the sailor, like he's like, "Where do you come from?" He's like, "Heaven," and then we just see the sailor's face, like he kind of kind of thinks he's nuts. It has a lot of comedy too, which is kind of the deal with most movies Jimmy Stewart did. And even if it's a very serious one like this one, it has this comedic charm to it. You'll always find it funny. There's always some moment that's gonna make you laugh, but it's also gonna kind of make you stop and think about stuff. It's not just a comedy, it's also something where you can stop and you could think about, I don't know, your existence, how just important you are to others, how important they are to you. It's really something where you kind of just stop and think, what if I wasn't around? How would that be for other people? And a film that's able to do that, I think is absolutely genius. I mean, not a lot of films are able to do that. Not even back then. There's not a lot of films where I just stop and actually think about certain situations, about how they might have been if something didn't happen. So for a film to actually make me stop and think about how life would be for everyone I know if I wasn't around, is succeeding on an entirely new level than, well, most films out even today.
Number 2, The Wizard of Oz.
So there are many things that are good about the movie. One is, for a film in 1939, it is visually stunning. You see this kind of whole new world of Oz with the little munchkin creatures. The makeup is very well done, especially on the Tin and the Witch, which so are the costumes. All the effects are very good. This is not good. It looks very stunning for a film that came out in the late 30s. I mean, that scene where she leaves her house and it changes from black and white to color, that is one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen. I've never really seen a movie that really uses that kind of transition in in such an interesting way. Like Kansas is the black and white is used to portray Kansas. That's the world she's in, and then and then the color is kind of used to represent the magical world that she gets in after getting knocked unconscious and falling asleep. And she goes around, befriends these three people, wanting to meet the Wizard of Oz, and they go on this journey. And then the evil Witch of the West wants the ruby slippers. They're very good. And I also like the songs. The songs are very catchy. We all know, we're off to see the Wizard. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is probably one of the most famous songs of all time. I don't even think you need to hear. I don't even think you need to know what the movie is to at least have heard the song once, because this song is very iconic. Judy Garland's good as Dorothy, and she does a good job playing a 6-year-old when she's 17. It doesn't really seem that obvious. And the production of this movie was hell. It was a legit nightmare making this movie, and just makes the final product more impressive, because you watch a movie where everything was just horrible making it. You see all these horrible things, and then it's bad, it doesn't feel right. And the fact that all that happened, and then you get this stunning movie, makes you appreciate it more, because they went through all these nightmares, 3rd-degree burns. The witch got 3rd-degree burns. They had to replace the actor who played the Tin Man because the makeup gave another one cancer, and then they had to find another one. Oh, and the other guy did survive. 5. I think this might have been the start to Judy Garland's drug addiction. So yeah, just a whole lot of shit making this movie. Yet, it still comes well. The end product is still very good, and even has a good message of how, no matter what if you kind of feel lost, well, there's no place like home. Your home is pretty much where you belong, and if you think you should be somewhere else, or that you're missing something, that's kind of in your head. Your home is where your life is, where your family is, where the people you care about are, and there's no place like home. I know it's in the movie, but it's true. That is a good message. That is a good message. You kind of just think your home's some slob. When you actually think about it, it's probably a good place, even if you think it's like, oh, I can live in a mansion or something like that, and you kind of think, hey, who cares? Yeah, I live in some small house, and I love it. I love it, even if it is just some tiny small house in one of the most boring streets in America. Because, well, it's where I grew up, and it's where I grew up. So of course I love it here, and that is a good message. Because your home's where everyone you love is. But yeah, it's a genuinely good film. Good effects, good acting, good characters, good song, and it is. I'm so glad to know that all of that stress and injuries and everything in that movie did get into a good product, as it definitely did show that all of that hard, stressful, nightmarish work did pay off in the end.
And the number 1 greatest movie of all time is The Godfather.
This film is perfect. You gotta give a film a 10. The Godfather is a 10. Everything's perfect. The acting, the writing, the story, the characters, everything is great. And you get to know all of them. The beginning, straight from the beginning, you immediately know how powerful Vito is. You see this guy talking to him about this situation, and you know that while he is powerful, he's also not like a big angry gangster. That's also one of the things they do. They don't just make gangsters these ruthless, angry, abusive people. As all the characters have these kind of interesting personalities about them, which kind of makes them have more personality, and actually makes the audience like them. We know that they shouldn't like them, we know they're bad, but the film's able to make us do that and never see things through their point of view. And in their point of view, well, they're the good guys. So we see them as the good guys. The other people, the other crime families in town are the bad guys. And they see them as the bad guys, so we see them as the bad guys. We're able to look through their point of view. Vito, Marlon Brando's best performance. I love that voice. I'm gonna give him enough he can't refuse. The makeup's good. He's really good at playing this old man. It's kind of like a comeback film for him after his career in the late 60s, which wasn't going so well. Well, he really works well, and this guy's very ruthless. He's very powerful, but he has some limits. Like, he won't just kill anyone that upsets him. He kind of thinks, if they actually, like, if they kill someone against them. And here's the same part. The Godfather, Vito Corleone, the Godfather himself, is not even the main character. It's his son, Michael. And we kind of think he is, because we see Michael first. Michael comes in like 10-20 minutes into the movie, and then I think it takes another like 20 minutes until they actually dive into him. But even then, it doesn't feel like it's taken us by surprise. Vito is kind of this ruthless manager who really, crime boss, but he kind of manages the family, and he will pretty much just do anything to protect his family. He doesn't even see it as the glory of being a criminal. The only reason Vito got in is pretty much to protect his family, and that's what he does. And then we see Michael, and at the beginning, he doesn't want nothing with it. It doesn't matter to him that like Vito's like has some limits or anything like that. He wants to live a totally legitimate life with his girlfriend Kay, and then his father is shot, and he's pretty much forced to get into the family. That scene where he kills McCluskey and Barzini is amazing. That's like the full edge. Like, he actually just committed a murder. The guy that literally just says, "No, that's my family, not me," commits the murder. Like, that's such a big moment, because that's kind of the start of him entering. Well, okay, he was already entering it, but that's the point where he actually starts to realize he's starting to enter the family that he's starting to become the thing that he wants to avoid. And by the end, like, more things happen. Like, his brother Sonny's killed, and so by then he kind of wants his revenge. And by the end, he gets it, and you get to that iconic church scene where they're asking him the questions. Do you round say? And he says, "I do it," and it cuts all the people killing him. And then he kills Carlo. And by the end, like, we see him get his revenge, but he just became the exact thing he was trying to avoid. And like, we see Kay just looking on it, or like seeing what he's become. And also, well, nearly every line and scene in the movie is iconic. The scene where the man finds the horse's head in his bed, the line, "I'm gonna give him an offer he can't refuse," "Leave the gun, take the cannoli," Paul's death scene, the opening scene. I mean, all of that, even some of the lines that don't get that much recognition, I think are great. Like when he says, "It's not personal, Sonny, it's strictly business." All of them are great. All the characters are great. Each plot is very interesting. And this film's like 2 hours and 55 minutes. That's almost 3 hours. And there is not one point where I wanted to stop it. First time I watched this, my plan was, okay, I'm probably going to get through half the movie, then stop to finish it tomorrow. That did not end up happening. I saw the entire thing that day. I did not care how late it was getting. I still watched it. I wanted to see it from beginning to end because it is that great of a movie. This is truly the best movie of all time. I definitely think everyone should watch it. Each way you could find something, even if you watched it like 100 times, I truly think that you should take a look. I mean, I've seen it so many times and I'm still not tired of watching it. And even from time to time, I'm still able to find new things in the movie that I didn't see the first time I watched it. So yeah, that's my list of top 10 greatest movies of all time. What do you think? Do you agree with it, or do you have something different? And hey, maybe you can even put your own ranking in the comments below. See you next time, like and subscribe.